So we had the very first Man Up Men's Conference, which again is designed to just help guys be better men, as Drew said, husbands, dads, employees, employers. It's a crazy world. And we're getting told time and time again that we are almost becoming insignificant. They're emasculating us. We are not needed necessarily. That's what society wants us to believe.
Right.
And so now more than ever, it's important for we men to know that there's a role we're put here to be, as it says, we're here to be priest, prophet, and king of our households, and that is an equal lift with our significant others, with our wives. But again, without the guys doing their part, without the guys manning up, it's a missed opportunity.
Podcast Twins, here we are back in the Twin Cave. We got some guests, but first, Vince is going to tell you what to do.
All right, so you guys have been enjoying the product that we've been putting out there, giving you guys great content. What I'm going to ask you is a personal favor. If it doesn't hurt you, today, could you just hit the little subscribe button on YouTube, maybe follow us on Facebook, and definitely all the other social media platforms, and especially my Spotify people. Make sure you do that. And if you really like us or don't like us, go ahead and leave us a comment so we know. Doesn't matter. That way we just need to know. We need the engagement. Help us with the algorithm, guys. Please do that. And if you really like or hate us, share it with somebody else. They might like or hate us too.
Love it, man.
So back in the Twin Cave, we got two dear friends, Mr. Ed Kolo and Mr. Erik Chafin. Thank you guys for joining us. Coming back, I should say.
Coming back.
I don't know though. After that, let us know if you hate us. I think that was directed at us, Erik. I don't know.
Hey.
It's hard to hate on what we're doing today.
That is
right?
true.
Right.
Because we've got, and we'll chop it up first, but before we even do that, you guys have the Man Up Golf Tournament. I should say we have the Man Up Golf Tournament. I've been on the golf committee and now almost a board member, I guess, with Man Up. Unofficial board member, if you will, with Man Up. So Man Up, obviously, we're teaching men to be better men, husbands to be better husbands, fathers to be better fathers, sons to be better sons, grandpas to be better grandpas, if that's possible at all, because we know grandpas are the happiest people we know. The G-Pips will attest, and so will the young ones that call this guy on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So, Man Up's only going to grow as it has for the past, is it 13 years now?
This is our 14th coming up.
14
Wow.
years,
That's
and
wow.
the golf tournament is the 8th.
Number 8.
Eighth.
Yeah, this is the 8th golf
So,
tournament, 14th men's conference.
It's
nice,
funny.
man.
I started as a golf tournament, let's say, I don't know, what do you call it when you're promoted? I was a golf tournament promoter.
You was a promoter. Okay.
So, yeah, I was an ambassador.
Ambassador. I
And,
like that.
And then they were like, hey, man, you got to join the golf committee. And then
Okay.
it was, hey, we need help with a signature gift. This
There it
happened
is.
3 years
Dang.
ago.
Love that hat.
So the website is ready, the number 2, manup.com. And you can actually scan Erik's T-shirt.
Right here, it
and
takes
go
you right to the
his,
tournament.
Love
go to
it.
his
Yeah, man.
tournament link to sign up, to sponsor. I will definitely be participating again. I'm actually
sure.
flying back from my Vegas vacation a day early to make sure that I am at the Man Up Golf Tournament.
I love it.
That's
No
how
doubt.
important and how fun this tournament
That's
is.
beautiful.
So why don't you guys start by telling us, before we even talk about where the money goes and how awesome the conference is, tell us about the tournament and why it's so fun.
Wow. So the tournament is fun because number one, so many of the people who have supported you guys, who have supported us, people from 6 Degrees, people from various other networking groups that we're involved with, have been so supportive, have been so willing to come out. There's a lot of golf tournaments these days. Everyone is thinking that that's the way to go. And so, like with anything, you really want to do some things that maybe set you apart. And while the Man Up tournament, we managed to kind of stay in our lane. We'll never be the biggest.
Right.
But one of the things we do try to do is make sure that from the minute you arrive until the minute you leave, you don't ever forget that you're at a tournament and that you are appreciated for spending a day with us.
Absolutely.
So whether that means, riding up on a group and making sure that everybody has enough cigars or they have enough beverages,
They did
or
that.
They did that.
maybe they've lost a ball or two, so we'll replace you with a sleeve
Right.
of golf balls. Maybe maybe you weren't real honest on that last hole, so we'll have Father hearing your confessions
That
on the
happens?
turn.
Does that happen in tournaments?
They're there. I don't know if anyone's ever
do they
taken-
cheat at these tournaments?
Oh, I don't think they. I don't think. Well, they don't go unforgiven.
Or
let's put it that way.
mismath?
Yeah, I don't know if that
not
option
good
is-
math.
Misspoke.
Yeah.
Misspoke.
Really good racers
Right.
on those
I don't
pensions
know
at
if
Pembroke Lakes
that
golf
option
course.
has been exercised yet, but it's good to know that
good
it's
to
there.
know he's there,
It's
right?
good to know he's there. Yeah, that's a lot of guilt. I haven't seen anybody have that much guilt yet, but this might be the one.
You never know.
I know last year nobody had that kind of guilt, but anyway.
I think there's been some scores posted already, and we're still among the win.
They're already done. They already canned. They're ready to go. Yeah.
It's, now I was very interested in into hearing you guys describe to our audience about the conference itself.
Yeah.
About he already kind of described what it's about. Can you give us a little insight on what they would be coming to as being a part of this conference?
Absolutely. And this is what really has become the passion of everybody that sits on the committee, and that is 14 years ago, it was observed, let's say, that there were a ton of women, moms, wives. God bless the women, right? They're there Sunday, the kids are there, and so many, you've heard me say this before, so many of the dads were either dropping them off or they were going to Flanagan's, or the game started, so they got to get the tailgating in. And so a dear friend who we lost far too quickly, by the name of Vic Moraro, Vic said, we got to do something. And so it was really his idea of coming up with a men's conference, and he and I kind of took it on, and so we had the very first Man Up Men's Conference, which again is designed to just help guys be better men, as Drew said, husbands, dads, employees, employers. It's a crazy world, and we're getting told time and time again that we are almost becoming insignificant. They're emasculating us. We are not needed necessarily. That's what society wants us to believe.
Right.
And so now more than ever, it's important for we men to know that there's a role we're put here to be, as it says, we're here to be priest, prophet, and king of our households, and that is an equal lift with our significant others, with our wives. But again, without the guys doing their part, without the guys manning up, it's a missed opportunity.
And one thing that you told me from the very beginning is that most of the men that are signed up for this conference are signed up by their wives,
by the women in their lives.
the women in
And
their
that goes
sisters,
and that
cousins.
goes back before the time of being able to online register. We would register, you'd fill out an application.
Right.
And so we would have a table set up, and probably 6 or 7 out of every 10 would be the women coming up saying, "Oh, I really want my husband. I really want my son to go. I really want my..." And then it got to be even we took it a step further, and we would start hearing the sad stories of, "I have asked fill in the blank to attend for the last several years."
Right.
So we would take this legal pad, and we would actually, what's his name? Just the first one, Michael, Jonathan. And so at the end of all of our meetings, we kind of have a little closing prayer, and we would include all these names that somehow the discernment would happen that if they were meant to be at this conference, they would be there. And a week or two before the conference, we might have 150 names on this thing, and inevitably there would be some that you never thought would attend who come in. The body language shows you that they're already looking to see where's the nearest exit, because I'm out of here first chance.
Right.
And through the grace of God, the Holy Spirit, whatever you want it to be,
Right.
you see the body language relax. They get into it. You see their whole demeanor change. And inevitably, they're the ones that are promoting it the most afterwards. They come in with the hardest of hearts, and they leave with a tremendous experience.
Ed, tell us a little bit about how it started, how many people started coming to the conference compared to what we're looking at this 2026 year coming up.
Great question. So this started off just as a small St. Edward's in Pembroke Pines Parish conference. St. Edward's is a pretty good sized church. There's probably 2,500 families. So we felt that if we got half of the men of those families, that's a pretty good number.
Huge.
Yeah.
And so that was more than enough for us to get started. And so we would get several hundred, but again, most of it was St. Ed's guys. We would get them from some of the other churches as well, but it was designed as a St. Ed's conference. Then in 2020, when the pandemic hit and everything was kind of shut down, the diocese went through some changes. And the diocese approached us and said, listen, would you consider taking this on as an archdiocese event instead of just a St. Edward's event? And so we spent some time and we discerned and we looked at the logistics and we said, okay, we can do this. We felt what do they say? When one window gets closed, the door gets open.
Right.
And so clearly we saw this as a challenge, but it was a need that needed to be filled. So we came out of COVID doing this now for 109 parishes throughout the Archdiocese of Miami instead of just St. Ed's.
That's amazing.
And last year we had nearly 500 people, 25% uptick in young adults. That's the cool thing.
That is
young
great.
adults is 16 to 25, and we had a 25% uptick because again, there's just something's happening. We can talk about Charlie Kirk, we can talk about a lot of things, but something is happening where these young people are being drawn back to their faith, and we really expect to see that carry over into 2026. So we've changed the venue. We've gone to a bigger venue to accommodate the people that want to be there. And again, we just kind of stay out of the Lord's way. He kind of uses us as He sees fit, and we try not to muck it up. And so far, it's been well received.
We're the podcast twins. I'm Drew. That's Vince. Gold and silver aren't just history, they're security. That's why we partner with Miles Franklin.
And if you just call 952-929-7006 or email them at info@milesfranklin.com, tell them that the podcast twins sent you. You'll get preferred pricing and you'll get very well taken care of by them.
Real talk, real value, Miles Franklin. Okay.
Well, I'm going to take a minute and have a cheap plug here because we've done a show in the past called Males versus Men.
Yes.
And this is exactly what we're talking about. Because you're born a male does not make you a man. And a lot of times you need to have male mentorship to properly learn how to become a man. There is a crossover. And so I think that we kind of covered it more from an angry standpoint because I was a little pissed that day. But I think that it really is this type of situation that's necessary, whether it be just in the social environment or religious environment or whatever the case may be. The missing man in today's world is probably because they was missing their man, their father, their uncles. They just, because we're in that generation now where Gen X was pretty much the first single household people. And so that now we're the grandparents, and so Gen X had a lot of, that was that women's movement where they were taking over in the workforce and all that other kind of stuff. And then by the 90s, women were excelling. And then that's where you said earlier, where they were being told by the masses, you don't need a man.
That's exactly
You don't
right.
need this. You don't need that. And then the families began to splinter. And now you have boys being raised by moms and grandmas. That's what the show is about. I suggest everybody go back and watch Males versus Men. And it'll help you understand this.
I don't know if you were quite pissed that day.
I was a little pissed.
You were voicing frustrations.
Okay.
And
Sounds
you
better.
and you were articulating very good reasons and points for why you felt the way you felt and the conversations that you had with these single mothers.
Yeah.
I thought I learned a lot, just like I learned a lot when I go to the Man Up conference. I can share, countless stories, but I'll do one. After this last year, and Ed already knows this, so apologize for the redundancy,
please.
but your former roommate from college, Father Larry,
Yeah.
and I actually volunteered to drive Father Larry to the airport when he left.
Okay.
And I got an extra 35 minutes and a blessing when he left. And I got to talk to him, and he's just a regular guy who happens to be a priest.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a great time with him. But before that, he said something at one of his homilies or presentations.
One
I
of his
guess,
talks,
I guess
yeah.
it was
Yeah.
more of a presentation, and he was telling stories about the importance of forgiveness. And that really struck home with me big time. And I wound up walking out of the church that day and forgiving someone that I needed to forgive. Whether that forgiveness was accepted or not, I have no idea, but
Didn't matter.
it was for me.
That's
And
right.
that's
Oh,
what
don't worry about
Father
it.
Larry said. So, and my dad is another example. I went there with my dad last year. The year before, my son, my dad, and I were the first three generations.
Three generations
group,
to attend.
which
That's
was
right.
really special for me. And my dad absolutely loved it. He grew up Catholic school, going to church every Sunday, and he just got so much value. I mean, we had countless conversations after it about it.
That's what it's about.
The other thing we'll point out is our good friend Lawrence Franzoni.
Yeah.
Pronounces he said to me before, because I missed it the previous 2 years because I was at Indian Princesses camping. Thank you for not scheduling
Earning
on
your
that
Father
anymore.
of the Year
Stop,
awards. That's
stop.
right.
No, that's just fun for me and my daughter. It's a great experience. But I had missed it the previous 2 years, and Lawrence told me you have to go. Even if you're not going for the religious aspect, it's a full day and a half of halftime motivational speeches.
Yes.
And I think that's a great way to describe it for someone who is, let's say, not of a Catholic or Christian faith, because people of all faiths can go to this and get value out of it. And I think that's an important aspect.
That's a great point.
Question to rolling into it from an outside standpoint. What percentage of the conference is what you would consider
Faith-based.
faith-based versus just man to man?
So yeah, that's a great question, and we do not downplay the fact that it is a faith-based conference, and we're very proud of that,
Right.
and we don't apologize for that. But having said that, it is not an event of Bible thumping, revival where you're going to either be forced into this type of situation or you're going to find it a waste of your time. It is anything but that. I like to think that we all are on this journey, regardless of what faith you call yourself, regardless of who you pray to. We are on a journey. There's got to be more than just being put in the ground at the end. It's another conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But
Or later.
But God is going to meet us. God is going to meet us where we are on that journey. So you never really, and we see this time and time again, talked about, again, the guy with the body language who comes in. The Lord is so kind that he is going to meet you exactly where you need to be met. Yeah. And they're not going to expect any more of you, and he's not going to expect any less of you. And so that's why one talk, one halftime motivation, as Lawrence would say, the four of us could all listen to the same talk, and it's going to affect you one way and you a different way, and us even a third and fourth way, because you're going to hear it based on what you need to hear and where you're at that time.
Right.
And that's the beauty of the conference. The other thing, real quickly, is we always have a couple of very, very talented speakers with great messages. We give them a theme. The conference has a theme, but we never tell them really what to speak about.
Right.
And sure as can be, every single year when you hear the first talk and the next talk from the other person, and then they are linked together as if they sat in a room and planned them together. And again, that's not a coincidence, as we like to say. That is clearly a God incidence. He is putting these guys and gals together with their talks so that they're expressing what the people who attend need to hear. It's a wonderful thing.
And it's important to note that the golf tournament was created so that you could fund the men's conference and that no one would have to pay, because you guys wanted the value to be given to anybody regardless of whether or not they were making a donation.
Absolutely. And it started off with just the guys. So Man Up started with just the dads and the granddads and the uncles. And then I think maybe in the third year, we were getting a lot of inquiries as to, can I bring my son? Can I bring my nephew? Can I? And so we saw that there was a need there. So as a result, we have these fathers and sons attending, and we didn't want anyone to not be able to come. You got dad with his 3 boys. Well, there's expenses to this, but the last thing we want is somebody to not come because they feel they can't afford it.
Right.
So it was maybe the 5th year, do the math, 14 minus 8. That's when we said, well, let's have a golf tournament. And that way the golf tournament can help fund the conference so that no one will be turned away because they can't afford it. And that's that's how we've just been able to have two great events instead of
And
one.
this year, I think we're expecting even more growth because we picked up Erik Chafin.
We got to work this
as
guy into
an
this
amazing
conversation.
free-
Absolutely.
you know,
What a
best-
free agent.
best
What a
free
free agent
agent
sign.
pickup we could ask for.
We made the first 15 minutes to go.
Eric, tell us as a new golf committee member what you're adding to an already successful tournament.
Well, I like to start out. I've known you guys for, over
Over
a
a
decade.
decade,
Yeah, over
for
a
sure,
decade.
yeah.
And I just, everything that you guys have been a part of, and I've loved being a part of the Man Up. And this will actually be the first year that I'll be bringing Ian, my son, actually to the conference. So I've heard I couldn't make it these other past years, and this year is actually going to be the first year.
Okay.
Where
Awesome.
What's interesting, my son's 20, and it's very interesting. He's had, not to get into this deep, might be a conversation
Right.
another time, but almost like an awakening in terms of his spirituality and his relationship with God, which has been amazing. So as a father, as you're going through this journey and you're sharing things, your values with your son, and he's coming full circle and actually helping me and mentoring me in certain aspects, I'm like, this is pretty amazing. So I want to thank you guys for, folding me into this. And I'm looking forward to really helping this Man Up, the golf tournament, and the conference in any capacity I can, especially my LinkedIn. I think, you guys,
Yeah.
I've loved LinkedIn for so many years, and getting more folks that are going to be aware of what Man Up is and how it's actually impacting our community from every facet.
Well, I can tell you that one thing that Ed and I both admit that we miss the last few years in the golf tournament is making sure that we tell you that women are invited and encouraged to play in our golf tournament. We want more female support, right? We are happy to support organizations like Legs and Powerhouse and these female golfing organizations, and we know that they also support what we're doing. So it's really
100%.
critically important to tell you women are invited, kids are invited. My son Nick has been a volunteer at this thing, I think 2 or 3 years in a row, and he has an absolute blast with this guy, Uncle Ed, and gets to get some service hours, and everybody wins, and he has a blast doing it. So if we want to get some more volunteers, women, kids, we need that support. We still need sponsors. We still need golfers. Manup.com. That's the website to sign up for either the golf tournament or the conference or both.
Or just to learn more about it, because we have a whole about history page, and you can get a really good flavor for what the conference is and where it came about, and some of the things we already talked
And we'll,
about.
we'll give credit where credit is due. I know it was a process, but Ray at Think Big Websites and his team, he's been a guest on the podcast, of course. He is our marketing arm for Podcast Twins. So, by the way, Ray, 500 subscribers by the end of the year. Make it happen.
Make it happen.
But yeah, Think Big Websites was instrumental in getting the website done. And
Ray and Linda, who
and-
is
and
his
Linda, yep.
his graphic person, they were terrific. And people don't tell you until there's been a change what they thought of the previous whatever. And so here we thought, we had a pretty adequate website. We thought it was meeting the needs.
Right.
And we spent a month with Ray getting the new one done, and immediately, I'm so glad you guys changed that. That website was so difficult. The response almost immediately on having a more user friendly. And again, it's you know what you know, and you defer to the experts, the things you don't.
Exactly.
John Wooden once said, "What a great coach." He said, "I just surround myself with people who are smarter than I am."
That's it. That's the
And
magic.
I've gotten to be 65 years old with that theory. Just surround myself with people smarter than me.
Or just people that are better at things that you're not great at.
Whatever.
I mean, that's
Yep.
another, that's
Drew-
a Richard Branson thing.
Drew hit on a point. So I wanted to really reiterate it because he just glazed over the fact that his son was able to get community service hours. This is a volunteer a fundraising situation. Therefore, your high school students, your Pee Wee teams that need community service hours, this is an awesome way for them to come by and pick some of that stuff up. And then from there, they can see what's happening, and then they'll be more susceptible to come in and participate in some of the other things, maybe this year, if not in the future. So that's just another way if you're having a trouble getting your young man or husband to come around. Hey, golf even if they're not good, they can come and have a good time. And so that's the way we can kind of bring them in because, as I said before, male mentorship for me is huge. I coached sports down here in South Florida for about 19 years. And I was a father to the majority of those kids because they didn't have one.
Right.
And that's why I quit because I'm exhausted, you know. But now these kids are grown and they're still reaching out, you know, because again, they just didn't have that fatherly figure in their life, and it's so necessary. So anybody can do it. I'm very happy to know these gentlemen that they are really saw that need, and because usually you see it, you put it out there, and it was okay, and you just keep. This thing is now 14 years. This is an entire growth period. I mean, hell, you're gonna have some kids that ain't even 14 come in here. Yeah. So that's the best part about it. So this thing has nowhere to go but up because you guys have got your hands on it and really taking care of it, and coming from it from a faith standpoint. Because like you said, you're not ashamed of what it is and what you're doing it for, but at the same time, you're not going to exclude those that are not that far advanced in
Absolutely.
the
That's probably the most important thing is no one, just as no one should feel intimidated to come to the tournament because maybe you're not, an avid golfer. You should equally not be intimidated to come to the conference because of wherever you're at in
Right.
in your faith,
Yeah.
or even fact thereof. Because again, it's an event that we said it before. It will meet you where you need to be met.
Nice.
Well, let's ask Erik, because it's going to be his first. I know you played in the tournament before, but it's going to be your first conference. How excited is your wife about you and your son Ian going?
She has no idea as of yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
so
Okay.
that's a unknown variable. So yeah, she'll. It's like schedules. We're moving so quick, Drew. As you know, we have three, and we have two daughters who are in volleyball, and we're constantly all over the place. So it's one of those things where we recalibrate. It's usually 3 weeks out. So this one obviously have to be a little bit sooner than that. So, but the thing is that my son and I are super close. I mean, we're all very close.
Right.
The five of us in our family. But I'm pretty excited because it's one of those things like Ed's always constantly telling me, and Franzoni, good friend of ours as well, and Lawrence has always said, he's one that's pushed me in a lot of different directions, which he probably doesn't even realize in terms of, Erik, you need to see this, check that out. As us guys connect with each other and help navigate, which is a beautiful thing. Now I have the opportunity to do that for my son, and a lot of before when he's 17, 18. Well, I have to go this. Now he's in a point where he sees things a little differently, which is going to be amazing. So I'm excited. I'm really excited.
That's
about
awesome. And how
great.
how important is it for Lori and your daughters and all of, your family, and then Willie and Tuck and all their families? Talk about that for me, Ed.
Well, it's
Because I know they all support it.
the
I see them
the
doing
family
everything.
dynamic is so interesting, and it's not to say that a single family is worse or better than a. I'm not saying that. I want to be very clear
Yeah,
that
sure.
families make it work regardless of necessarily maybe the hand that they were dealt. But having said that, I truly believe that, and I'm not the one who said it, I'm just repeating this, that our kids love their moms, but they imitate their dads. It's kind of proven.
Say that again for the people in the cheap seats.
Yeah, no,
They love their
kids
moms.
love their moms. They will be there to the end. Hey, part of why I was able to move to Florida from upstate New York 24 years ago, with my dad had already passed, but with my mom who was getting older, was because I had a sister. I had three sisters actually, but one in particular who took the responsibility on to be there and make sure mom was cared for. So kids love their moms, and they will be there and do anything for them. But kids emulate their dads. And if they see dad not caring, they will not care. If they see, and that's just not faith-based. That's pretty much true with anything. If they see dad not treating mom right, they're going to settle for less because they're like, guys don't have to treat women right. And I'm no psychologist or psychiatrist, but it's a proven fact that the kids emulate dads. So in my case, where I don't have a son, but to have my daughters see that man up is something that really gets dad juiced up and jacked up and excited, that rubs off on them, and they have been I'm happy to say they've remained involved in the church, and they are hands on that way. But yeah, it's
Yeah, I can't even get Maddie to play pickleball.
can't even get May to play pickleball. She's
cleaning the church
she's
at 5
doing
o'clock
she's
in the
doing so
morning.
much. Exactly. But yeah, it's a crazy thing. So we have a tremendous responsibility as the men of our household,
Wow.
regardless of anything else. Just be aware they're watching.
I'm not gonna let you
They're
get off of that
watching.
one that quick, man.
You got Vince. You got Vince
The wheels are
thinking.
turning.
I'm not
Let's
gonna
go,
let you get
Vince.
off of that one, man.
Let's go,
because
Vince.
that was a good one. The kids love mom, but they emulate dad.
Yes.
Okay, I agree with that. I mean, I'm number 6 of 6, 3 boys, 3 girls, and my parents was one of the old generation people. They was together 66 and a half years before they both passed away. So we had an amazing example when it came to that. Now my mom and my dad was a pastor, by the way. He was a Baptist pastor for
talked about that.
a whole bunch of years.
Yeah.
So he was the face of the organization. But I tell anybody, the real mastermind behind the organization was my mom.
Absolutely.
She was the strong, silent type. She did not need any FaceTime to the world. So, and you're right. There's certain things that you did with mom that you didn't do with dad. But what triggered me as a coach of these kids, that most of them didn't even know who this individual was or haven't seen them in such a long time. It puts them in a peculiar situation because now they're being raised in the best way possible that they could do as a mother and a grandmother. But there's just things that they're trying to protect these young men. And in a lot of ways, those young men have testosterone in their bodies, but being raised by this estrogen, and it's a constant clash, which is why the violence is so crazy, because they don't know how to have conflict resolution. Right. Where men to men, that's what we do. We figure out, hey, let's go over here and sit down and have a drink. We're gonna talk about it. But when these kids that have this internal conflict because they've never been shown, because in order to be a man, you gotta watch a man. You gotta have contact with a man. They've never been shown that, hey, everything don't have to be me knocking you out. We can figure this out. But that's their internal conflict with that. And so what about that situation when they don't have anything to emulate?
Yeah.
And only thing they have is mom and grandma. They're doing their best. Ladies, you guys have done your best, and I mentioned that in our other previous episode. But to me, that's bigger than the bigger than the pandemic that happened. I think the fact that the men that steps in, and I can speak strongly because I have done so with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of young men in the South Florida area. And Drew will tell you, I just went to the game last week, and 5 of my kids that I coached that are now grown, 27 years old, they saw me and it was like, it was insane. That's awesome. They came up, took this great picture with me and all that good stuff like that. And these kids I raised from 9 years old.
That's beautiful.
And so, and a couple of those guys was in that same situation. Never knew, never heard, never nothing.
You touched their life and you basically repathed them. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, man.
And so now, how do we get to those parents that have that situation at home where dad is either dead, gone, in and out? How do you get those kids to attend that conference? How do you reach that demographic and bring them in a non-intimidating way?
That's a great point. And so a couple thoughts. So first of all, we are starting to see mentors attend. In other words, we all know what a mentor is, but we're starting to see guys who, just as you alluded to, Vince, they're bringing their basketball team.
Yeah.
Or they're bringing 3, 4, 5 of their sons' buddies, or maybe kids from school or from some type of maybe the Boy Scouts or whatever. So mentors are seeing the need to kind of expand their borders a little bit. The other thing I want to add is, and this is kind of an analogy that we use about the conference, is think of Man Up as like your Thanksgiving dinner. You sit down for Thanksgiving dinner, and at the end of that meal, you are stuffed beyond to the point of illness sometimes, and you swear that you will never eat again, and sure enough, within 12 hours
Yeah.
or a day, you're hungry again.
Yeah.
Well, if you didn't eat again until the next Thanksgiving dinner, you probably won't be around for the next Thanksgiving dinner,
Right.
because your body needs that continual nourishment, that physical nourishment. Well, we're the same way spiritually. So if all you're doing is attending a Man Up conference or any retreat or anything like that, and you're doing nothing the rest of the year, you're going to come out of that event stuffed like you are at Thanksgiving
Right.
with your spiritual nourishment. But if you don't do something to continue that, again, spiritually you're going to die just like nutritionally you're going to die. So what we encourage the guys to do, everybody, is connect yourself with a group of as iron sharpens iron, men sharpen men. Get yourself involved with a group of guys who think alike and who this is important to. And meet regularly. Meet for coffee. Meet, if you want to do it in a like a Bible study session, or if you want to do it, we call it a cell group, where we get a handful of guys together a couple times a month, and we spend time together. What's bothering you? What's working? What's not? What's your frustrations? And by doing that, it allows you, number one, to know you're not alone, that everyone is kind of dealing with the same types of struggles to be the man we're called to be. But second of all, it's like anything else. If you're around like-minded people, that strength in numbers, man. You know you have someone who you can always turn to. Like we talked, Drew. If I were to get stranded on the alley at 2 a.m, there's 5, 6 guys who I could call, and before I hung up, they were already jumping in their car and doing it. That's the other piece of this. You cannot just, like anything else, you can't be a one and done. You need to be sure that you have something to fill that time in between events, conferences. It's like anything. You play golf once a year, you're not going to be very good.
You see how I put that ball on the tee and he knocked it right down the fairway?
Just like they did on the moon.
Just like they.
Who said that?
We're 5 minutes away from that section.
Rabbit hole.
But no, I'm glad he mentioned it, because that was going to be my next situation was all my coaches that are watching this, all of you guys that are Boy Scouts and all of the real good Boy Scout leaders. Anyway, Boy Scouts, anything that you have a group of youngsters, what's the youngest that you guys bring?
So we put 16 on the list on the
Okay.
sheet because we kind of have to. But I always tell everybody, if you have that 14-year-old, you have that
Right.
you have that son or that grandson or that nephew who you, and again, it's not that there's stuff discussed that they can't hear.
Right.
I don't want to give that impression.
Right.
No.
But clearly, you want them to be able to get something from it. And
We want to start with the young men.
We try very hard to make sure that we have in our speakers the ability to reach the whole gamut of who's there.
Okay.
But it starts at 16. But like I said, if you have someone who you think should be there, you're the best judge as
Right.
the dad or as the uncle or the grandpa, and they're 15. We do not have bouncers at the door checking IDs.
I like it.
No, I mean those 2 young kids that.
How about
brought
those? How about
Deacon
those
Harold
two?
The cross.
How about those two?
was super? Were they like 8 and 10 or something
They
like that?
and Dad has brought those kids there. They
Since
would
they were like 5.
they would fall asleep Friday night. They would fall asleep on his lap, and come back the next day. And yeah, you talk about. I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, we
it's-
got Kurf over here, our eye in the sky. He just sent me something here
here we go.
to check out. He says children in single-father households often experience more positive academic and behavioral outcomes compared to those in single-mother households, including higher GPAs and fewer disciplinary issues. It goes on to say those are statistically worse than 2-parent households. How about that? However, children in any single-parent home are at risk for challenges due to factors in the financial hardships, time constraints. Research shows that on single-father households show more of a complicated picture than single-mother households, with some studies indicating higher risk for drug use and riskier health behaviors, while others suggest better educational and behavioral outcomes. That kind of filters right into what we're doing here. I mean, you've seen, and as men, I used to go and say, I was young. Come on now, I was young. At college, I'm like, hey man, as you come back for your sophomore and your junior year, it was like, I'm going back to campus early because those girls that ain't got no daddy, they come in there early, and they were more. You could tell,
Yeah.
you know. But you could always tell the girls that had a strong father in their life. They made you work a little bit, you know. And so, but that kind of, if you listen to what that statement said, it kind of works both ways. You, without that, it took a man and a woman to create you.
Absolutely.
And so it should take a man and a woman to raise you and rear you and have you prepared for the world.
In the best, best case scenario.
Well,
Best case scenario.
Craig Valvo, owner of the Michis, are one of our favorite spots
Love
down
Craig.
the street here. We were talking about the Indian princess thing, and he had some experience with that, but his daughter was not the outdoors type, so they never did that. They did other stuff together and made memories. And he said to me something that I thought was truly powerful, and you and I, all of us have had conversations offline about this, but he said that your daughter will 100% choose who she wants to hold hands with and date and marry, if she gets married one day, by the way that you treat her as a father.
Facts.
120%, man.
Facts.
Having two daughters myself, it's obviously a blessing. 16 and 14 now, but one of those things. And my 16-year-old tells me time and time again, you know, Dad, you have no idea, you know, some of her friends, and they, you know, have a gap in their life, and you know, you don't realize it because you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, and
But
they're
then-
dating dirtbags.
Yeah, it's just a different, you know, different path. But then her trying to mentor them on different aspects, and we of course have our house is totally open to everybody, and it's constantly everybody at our house. You know, every friend you can imagine, and that's what I remember as a kid. Is it was always wide open. My parents, no matter what, didn't matter who you were.
Your
Right.
friends
I,
can come
and
anytime
I
they
didn't even
want.
have to be home. And we make this joke because a lot of my friends are like, "Hey, I was over hanging out with your mom's house or your grandma's house,
Yeah.
and I was eating." I'm like, "Oh, okay," and
Yeah.
just whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But that was
And
one of
you
those.
were at work or something.
I was wherever. Yeah, I
sure.
was wherever. But it was one of those things that's what we wanted to create in our household. Is like, hey, come over whenever, however. You're welcome, no matter what, you know. So
Well, I got two girls, a lot older. You know, mine are 24 and 30. And that is super key because no matter who's in their life, mom, grandma, and all of that stuff, when it comes down to dealing relationship-wise, they come in here. They're coming here because, and also too, they've also carried themselves as though they've been in my life the entire time. When my oldest went to Florida A&M as a freshman, she went out to the world famous Moon. Anybody from Tallahassee know about the club, the Moon? And so she went out there that night, and some guy tried to run game on her, or whatever the case may be. And he said, and this is a quote, she called me at 12:15 in the morning. She's laughing. I'm saying, "What's up, baby? You okay?" Yeah. This guy just said, "Damn, girl, what, you got a daddy in your life or something?" And she was like, "I absolutely do," because she had already heard it long before any of these guys could take shots.
I love it.
And that's where that's where that rearing and mentor. And here she is now 30, you know, and she has a nice relationship at this point. You know, the young man, I so far give him the and so we're good. But at the same time, she's often checking in, you know, because especially in the African American community, where unfortunately at this stage of the game, 3 out of every 4 women in the African American community will never experience marriage. It won't happen. That's an actual statistic in today's world. And so, you know, but I always tell my girls, in order to be a wife, you must act as a wife. In order to act as a wife, you must find a wife to emulate. So everything comes back to that. And unfortunately, at a 24 and 30 age group, their grandparents probably are divorced. Because if you go back and look at when that whole thing began to fracture, it was the mid 80s, and that was those Gen Xers that are separating, moving their own way. Because back when my parents were young, they had to stay together financially, whether you liked each other or not. You stayed together because you ain't had no choice. But towards the 70s, and the women begin to, you know, make more money and doing all this other stuff, and they were told they didn't need that guy, they would bounce off and go. And so now that 30-year-old really has no one to go and see and watch her grandmother be a wife to her grandfather, to watch her mom be a wife to the husband. It's rare. So they're learning on the fly. And unfortunately now, like I said, that's a real statistic. 75% of all young black females will not experience marriage. And so now they have to make a decision. I have to go out there. If I want children, I'm gonna have to have children. It's gonna be on my own, and all of it. It's a really sad and scary situation. You know, we're looking for that thing till we hit this extreme, so we can bring that wave back and start building families again. Because if you can't build a family, you can't build wealth. That's a bona fide fact. You know, I don't care how much we date, as long as we're in two separate households, we will never create wealth together. And so we won't have that opportunity to pass down anything to those kids, knowledge, education, showing them what it looks like, because you're dysfunctional. And again, the word marriage, I don't really care that much about. But the actions of marriage, I care everything about. Yeah. You know, the relationship, how you treat each other, what your kids see. Are you able to walk past your woman or wife and not touch her?
Yeah.
If you can walk past them, look, because I'm telling you, I've been divorced, man, and you know there was a point you walk by the hallway and you scrape the wall, all damn near pulling the paint off, so you didn't have to touch this person walking by you because you reached a certain level of disgust. But at the same time, you got to make sure that these things are what men have to step into that role. I'm not to saying that women are beneath you, but you have to step into a role of the leadership in the position of the house. I believe in it, you know, even though I said my dad was the face, my mom was the puppet master. You know, she had she had the controls.
And Vince, you're right. And again, it bears repeating. In no way does Man Up want to give the impression that there is any type of inequality or different levels of importance. It's actually just the opposite. We work hand in hand with another diocesan ministry called Retrovi, and Retrovi works on, you know, helping those marriages that are in a bit of a crisis. And the people of Retrovi see very, very firsthand the connection of both. You can't rebuild a marriage without first addressing what's the guy doing wrong or contributing to that problem. So, and again, biblically, you look back, and that's why I started our conversation earlier with God bless the women, because the women are the ones who are there. You know, you talk about interesting statistics. You have a women's retreat, and they will sell out in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And you have a men's retreat or a conference, and we know they're going to come, but it's all going to be in the last 3 days.
Absolutely.
Because you know we are the consummate procrastinators, and we're just wired differently that way.
Golf tournaments, retreats,
whatever it is,
we're going to drag.
Yeah, and we know that. So, and again, I don't know if we've mentioned it. It bears mentioning. You know, the conference is February 20th and 21st. So we're still a little bit ways away. It's always the weekend after what we call Ash Wednesday in the Catholic faith. It's the start of that Lenten season. So we always thought it's an important time to start Lent off on the right foot. So we always have it that Friday and Saturday after whenever Ash Wednesday falls. That's why when Drew was saying earlier, thanks for rescheduling it to not. It was really just depends on Ash Wednesday is always either February or March, and then of course the golf tournament is December 5th. But if this were a women's retreat, we'd be here saying we're putting together our waiting list.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anybody that will be not able to make it.
100%.
And it just again, guys are.
Well, how many people can come to the conference this year?
We have actually changed venues.
Right.
We are having it at St. John Vianney College Seminary down in Dade. Off of the 826.
So pray for us, because Dade's dangerous to drive.
we have
305.
Wow.
We have been asked. Yeah, we've been asked
I have to
time and
take a
time
shot at
again.
my ass.
Old
You
style
do not need a
grounds, man.
passport.
Yeah,
You will not need a
sure.
passport to get there.
Baby.
But yeah, we've
Maybe
had a lot.
maybe we get Mario Ball.
We've had a lot.
Yeah, he should be at this conference.
No, look at that.
Yeah, he should be at this
And
conference.
Beck looks baked, by the way.
Anyway,
That's a whole nother.
You know, he said he said Beck is overrated on a podcast a little while ago, and he can't take over a game and win. And I said this past week, another loss. I said that he looks stoned all the time. So
Yeah,
I don't know. His eyes are glassed over.
yeah.
But enough about the.
enough
about
We
the-
we
not gonna do
digress.
that.
We
We
digress.
digress.
Hold on.
We
You want to touch
digress.
on the Dolphins
No,
too?
no, if we want to
that's,
talk about
yeah.
football at all, the only team to talk about is Indiana University Hoosiers, because we actually have a team, and
How about that?
we're
How
gonna
about that?
play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship the day after the golf tournament.
How about that?
Man, already lined up, Drew.
Yeah.
I think we've covered a lot, but I tell you what, now it's time to have some fun with Ed. Okay.
Is this gonna be the continuation?
So if you go back and watch the Archdiocese episode, towards the end, me and Ed had interesting dialogue, and I love it. That's why me and the big fella we get along like that. So, you have daughters.
Correct.
Daughters.
Yes, sir.
Daughters. A daughter. She brings this guy home. He is amazing to her. I mean, literally treats her like an absolute queen. Takes care of her. Everything is A-okay. He is, you clearly see that he loves this woman, and he supports whatever she does. He's an atheist. He just don't believe in it. How do you function with that?
Wow.
Oh! I'm here all week, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Tip your bartenders and waitresses.
Wow, that is interesting.
This is when I sit down and shut up and listen.
I was gonna say,
This is
is this,
my time.
you're gonna pass on this?
No, I want to listen first, man. He asked you the question.
I did.
Oh, that was directed
I
at
posed
me
it to
directly?
I posed it to our guest.
Oh.
Both of you.
It's an interesting, because you're basically been building everything off your values and instilling everything into your kids in hopes them take that and then keep that moving. To answer your question directly, I would have a hell of a time with it. I don't know how I would navigate, but if it's something, that she absolutely loves this guy, depending on how old she is, again,
Yeah. Full-grown adult.
Yeah, full-grown adult. That's a whole nother scenario.
Let's make her 27.
27. Okay, 27. Wow, so many things you think about. You think about the grandkids. You think about family functions. You think about sitting down and having great conversations at Thanksgiving. How does that work, right? I mean, that's what I started thinking about.
You love this guy. I mean, he's been around. You've bonded with this. This guy's he's everything that you could possibly imagine, except as much of a spiritual being that you are, a faith-based driven person that you are, he's just not with it.
So I guess in my mind it'd be, there's a chance to convert them.
Do you?
I'm just
No,
Do you?
bring them along. We'll have to
Right,
bring them along. I have to bring them along.
That's
Okay.
an honest
That's where I would
Yeah,
be. That's
okay.
where I would be.
answer.
it is a good question, and it's a question again when you get into these small groups that we talked about, it comes up.
Okay.
So as great a question as it is, it's asked more often than you would think.
Okay.
Because it's in every family's got a situation. It may not be atheist, but it could be falling away. It could
Right.
be anything. So the answer, or an answer. Now
Right.
there's a lot of answers, but a couple things come to mind. Number one, you prefaced with the important thing. He is treating her well.
Amazing.
That tells you the type of character he is. And I truly believe that, there's a lot of good atheists. There's a lot
Absolutely.
of good non-believers out there.
Absolutely.
And so you take from that the fact that what St. Francis said. St. Francis said, evangelize daily, and when necessary, use words. So what does that mean? That means that that young man is going to be around. He's going to be around at Thanksgiving. He's going to be around on a Friday night when they hang out watching
At
a movie
soccer
or whatever.
games and basketball
Exactly.
games and cheerleading
Exactly.
practice and all of those
Exactly.
things. Indian princesses, perhaps.
So he is going to be watching what's going on in that family dynamic. And if he sees a guy like us browbeating him over and over and over again, it's like the dog that pees on the carpet and you keep hitting him, that's not going to teach him not to do that.
Right.
So we as the men of the family need to embrace them and let them again see from the example, invite, hey Vince, we're going to church, would you like to come? No, okay, pray for you. You just by your example, eventually I think, well, and then there's a part B to this, which
Right.
really is more. He's eventually
there is.
going to wonder, what is it about that guy? What's he got and how do I get it? Because I've always wondered, how does someone without faith get through and navigate through the landmines of this life? And the simple answer is they don't. They end up, either they're seeing psychiatrists or they're developing vices or whatever, but they're not. And so that's answer number one. You just lead by example. The other thing that I think is important, and you do this just because you know this gets me pumped up. The other thing is
It was premeditated.
I know it was. I know it was. And you warned me it was coming when you did it the last time. The other thing is no matter where we are with our faith, we save nobody. It's not our job.
Right.
We were not put here to save. That's God's job. So all we do is, as we said earlier, we're the instruments. So stay out of his way, do what we're supposed to do, and leave the rest of that up to God. And say, okay, Lord, you brought those two together. You know that we as the parents, I had a great old priest friend when I was much younger who said, Ed, your job as a parent is to get them to 18. You get them to 18 where they're going to church, they love the Lord, and you got nothing to worry about afterwards. After that, they're on their own for their own salvation. And you pray for them and you encourage them, but you've done your part.
True.
So all that to say is, you continue to lead by example. You continue to do what you've done all along, hopefully, with your stumblings and your fallings, and then turn it over to the Lord. Turn it over to the Lord.
True.
I want to take a crack.
I'm giving it to you. I feel you.
So what I would do is I would invite them to a room that both Marty and Dave are in. Because they had a 2-hour conversation at a Scotch and Sticks night that it was just Ed, Drew, Marty, and Dave. And I think Ed uttered 3 sentences, maybe 4, in the 2 hours and change. And I did not say one single word. I just listened. And one of them took the I'm not so sure God exists, and the other took the I am very sure that God exists.
Love that.
And I listened. And Ed and I talked about it. We were playing in the Celebrity Broadcasters tournament the next day.
Yeah.
And I said, he goes, you were quieter than I've ever seen you when they were talking. And I said, because I don't know nearly as much as they do. And I listened the entire time.
That's
if
a skill.
If it was me,
Exactly.
I would invite the 2 of those gentlemen over, and probably Ed, and probably Erik, and let that person listen to both arguments. Because I think, and you know this about me, we may not have all the truth. I said it in the Charlie Kirk episode at the end of the episode. We may only have 5 to 30% of the truth. And someone else that we're talking to may only have 5 to 31% of the truth. And before you write something off as an idea or a possibility, or you decide not to be friends, or you don't want this person in your family, or you don't want to talk to your brother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, father, God forbid, anymore, maybe think about that fact, that you don't have all the truth and you don't know all the answers, so it's good to listen to people that have more knowledge than you do.
Okay.
That would be my move.
I'll close it. I wasn't going to close it. I wasn't going to say a word.
Shit.
But in today's world where the males are way more prevalent than the man, if that man is taking care of my daughter to that point and doing every single solitary thing that I could ever imagine him doing, I'm going to embrace that man, because there's so many bozos out there
Right.
that walk with the cloak of God, that walk with the cloak of other crap out here in the world that are you can see the cracks in their line the moment they pull up to your front door. The moment I got somebody that's genuine because he has it, I'll give the reference. You're not going to throw away a Rolls Royce because it has a dent in it. You're going to drive that car, and you're going to try to eventually get that dent fixed if you can. If you can ever afford
Bang it out. That's right.
so in that regard, but that's just the way I look at things, is that we are fallible as humans. We're none of us were put here to be perfect. So and that does not, in my particular situations, it would not be a deal breaker for me. It would be a conversation piece, because again, you're thinking about children and how you choose to bring up children. But let's be honest, you got 100,000 different religions in this world. Somebody's wrong, somebody's right. You go to different countries, your Bible reads different in every single solitary country. Somebody's wrong, somebody's right. And as long as we're breathing, we're really not going to physically know who's wrong and who's right. It's about belief. And that takes me back, and I'm going to close with this. One of the best statements I ever heard, it was actually in a movie. And they were talking, it was actually Boys in the Hood. How about that? Because this guy's father came in, and that one of their friends had converted to Islam. And he walked in the room, and the guys were ragging on the father about, man, you let him do this. He said, listen, he said, anything that makes my son a better man, I don't care if it's Buddha, I don't care if it's Allah, I don't care if it's, whatever makes my son a better man, I'm supporting that 100%. Because the kid had converted, he used to be in the streets and whatever, but his religion now took him off the streets. And he said, anything that takes him off the streets, I'm a better man. So I take that as us having a looser grip mentally going forward as to how we embrace people. Come as you are, right? That's the whole premise that we were all raised up under, right? But I think some of that becomes a little more narrow-minded when we find that people are not thinking along the same lines as us.
I think the very first thing you said when you asked the question, good guy treating the daughter,
Period.
great. That's you start. Now, if you had said, guy's questionable.
Oh,
guy's
yeah.
Now it's again, to use a sports analogy, you'll take a chance with a talented young player
Yeah.
who shows great desire.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be as patient with a guy who doesn't have the talent and is also a head case.
Absolutely.
The fact that let's call this guy a 5-tool player.
Yes.
Treats her well, got all of that.
All of it.
Then he is worth putting the effort in.
Absolutely.
And that's really where it starts from. And then from there, you just see where he goes.
Well, I love
You know,
it.
Don't ask anybody in this room if the guy treated her badly, because we can't put
Well,
that
no.
on camera.
I mean, listen.
Yeah.
It was one that I literally thought of as I walked in the door.
I love it.
And I said, I'll save that one. I knew exactly.
Perfect.
So anyway, it worked out. I got what I wanted to do. What a great episode we're having.
Yeah.
I hope
gentlemen.
so.
But it's also a very special day.
Yeah.
Today is my identical twin's birthday. And also,
Yeah, buddy.
my newest grandbaby also is born on this day. So a year
Wow.
ago, we were here as my G-Pip, I like to call him, because I'm G-Pop.
Right.
And was born, and it happened to be his birthday. So we want to make sure that we give acknowledgement to my exact twin. You wonder how we're twins and it's not my birthday? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. That's
Those are minor details.
minor
Semantics.
Yeah.
But he's also a guy that is an extreme carnivore, and look at what it's done to his body. Look at what it's done to his body. He's a whole new human being just since we. So again, I challenge you, a cheap plug. Go back and watch episode 1 of Podcast Twins. You'll see a whole different Drew.
And episode 27 is our most listened to episode still.
Which is about?
Which is about the carnivore life.
Okay. So we're here to try to help him become
It
even a better.
just edged out Archdiocese of Miami when Ed came in here.
It's still rolling, man.
I know.
So we're here to try to help him become even a better carnivore because no carnivore is good
Hey, look at that.
without amazing cutlery.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. So how better to cut your steak
This guy's
than
a
have
man.
amazing cutlery?
I'm in.
Happy birthday, my brother.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Drew.
birthday, my brother.
Many
Thank
more.
you. Thank you, guys.
awesome.
An absolute
Indeed.
pleasure.
Yeah, man.
Let's go get some carnivore food.
You almost that almost stayed in my car, man. But anyway, no, seriously, man. We want to wish my brother here a happy birthday, man. He's been an amazing person to work with for the last year, and then he brings these type of people back into my life so we can continue to bring you guys the best content we can in the world. All we do ask is that you click that subscribe button. It costs you absolutely nothing, but you help us out tremendously. Help us drive these algorithms. Send this episode to anybody. We're going to go ahead and repeat the dates of the Man Up tournament and then the Man Up conference. So I'm going to let them do that right
Go
now.
ahead.
So, thank you. So the Man Up Open is December 5th at Pembroke Lakes Golf and Racquet Club in Pembroke Pines. It's an 11:30 check-in, lunch, shotgun at 12:30, followed by a nice dinner at 5 or 5:30. So you still have the rest of Friday evening to enjoy. And then the conference is, as we said, always right after Ash Wednesday. So in 2026, it will be December 20th and the 21st.
February.
What did I say?
You said
You said-
December.
I'm sorry. February. Thank you. February
we're gonna edit
20th
that out.
and 21st.
Yeah.
We start Friday night. We know it's been a long day. We have a supper. We have an evening program, and we generally wrap things up by 9 o'clock or so. But I will tell you, nobody seems to leave. That has become one of the most popular parts of the weekend.
You got like 11 fathers taking
It's
confession
just
all night
incredible.
and-
Yeah, it's really special.
yeah.
Awesome.
So then we send everybody home, and then they come back the next morning. We have breakfast. We have a morning session. We have lunch, and we're normally done by about 2 or 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon. So you have the rest of the weekend. So
And there you go. And that's what we're doing. We're here promoting that idea. I hope everybody, we're going to put a link in the description as always. But go ahead, once again, click subscribe. We want to thank our guests for coming. Drew, wrap it up.
That's it. Podcast Twins out from the Twin Cave in Coconut Creek. We'll catch you next week with another episode.